Hello, and welcome to another special edition of the UTB Blogcast. We have tonight several of our normal contributors, Dave, Abby, Chap, Brad, Wayno, and Roy. I think I got them all. And our special guest tonight is Matthew Talbot, the CEO of BBM Tech. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and jump right into the questions. So Wayno has the first question for you. So Wayno, take it away.
Yes, g'day Matthew, and welcome to UTB. It's a pleasure to have you here. Mate, can you just explain the partnership between BlackBerry and MTech and what each of those are contributing towards BBM?
Yeah, look, I think the partnership is quite clear. Basically, MTech now has taken a global license for BBM to basically run, operate, manage, and develop BBM going forward. So, in essence, it's a separate entity that's now running BBM. And the rationale for that is twofold. One, from a BlackBerry point of view, BlackBerry is obviously very focused on the enterprise market. So BBM obviously has an enterprise side, but also has a consumer side. And MTech has taken the consumer side of that and is driving that going forward. And that's what I run today. I think from the MTech side, MTech is one of the largest media groups in Indonesia. Obviously, Indonesia is one of the biggest markets in the world for BBM with over 64 million monthly active users. And they've acquired and invested in around 18 digital assets over the last 4 years. And what we're doing at the moment is bringing a lot of those assets, content and services, into BBM. And that same model will be extending to other key markets as well.
Awesome.
With BBM or with BlackBerry and MTech both handling kind of two different segments, because we saw Marty Beard's post earlier this week with where the BB10 BBM is being handled by BlackBerry and Windows, iOS, and Android being handled by BBM Tech. Does this kind of close the door on the cross-platform video chat between BB10 and the other platforms?
No, not at all. There's still interoperability at the messaging layer. So for voice and video and messaging, there's still interoperability across the board. But obviously on the additional services that we're building out that are very related to obviously the consumer market. And for example, if you're in Indonesia today with inside BBM, you can watch video, you can see your daily news, you can play games, you can do shopping, you can buy coupon and vouchers, you can top up your phone, you can pay bills. All of these type of activities within the BBM consumer environment. And they're really not what the enterprise is looking for. Obviously, the enterprise is looking for a secure application that their consumers can transact and talk and transfer files. So there's no difference in the security levels of what we're using on the consumer side. We're just adding more content and services.
So who do we need to bug to get that cross-platform video?
Look, that's one for my old friend Marty Beard. So talk to him about it.
Well, we told him when he was on to go down the hall and push that button, but I guess he didn't find it or something.
But look, I think in general, look, it's a very exciting space. Obviously, we've seen around the world messaging apps become the #1 app. In fact, right now, the average consumer has between 2 and 4 messaging apps on their phone. And that's fine with us. You use it you use a different messaging app depending on the group that you're in, the family, your work, etc. So for us right now, it's all about obviously how do we drive more content and services on top of that. And we've seen very successful use cases around the world. We've seen WeChat in China become an ecosystem around messaging. We've seen Line in Japan do the same, KakaoTalk in Korea. You're now seeing in North America, obviously Messenger open up to obviously bring in other content and services and bots. And we're going down exactly the same path, obviously in the markets that we have scaled. And I think that's an important element as well, because you can't be #1 to everyone in every country. the space is just too big. And if you've looked at the recent stats, you've now got the messaging apps that actually surpassed the social apps. And that's the key. And as you know, the average consumer uses probably only 5 apps on their phone. And it's always going to be messaging's always going to be there. And as you know, BBM's been there now for over 10 years.
Roy, you're up next, buddy.
Yeah, you talked about some of the amazing features that MTech brought into BBM. And my question is, can we expect to see those features expanding to global markets like North America, Europe, Middle East?
Yeah, look, absolutely. We wanted to get the model right, and we think we're just about there, but we're already starting to roll out some of those services first in Africa, specifically Nigeria. But there's a number of global content plays and services that you'll see in the first quarter of next year in relation to things like transport and sport and other content. So, no, we're very keen to obviously roll those type of services out globally. As you can appreciate, with some of them, they have to be regionally bound because of digital rights. So some of the services that we're looking at, for example, some of the transport services, you know, there are brands there that we can run globally, and I'm sure you know a few of those. But obviously on things like video and sport, etc., we need to be very careful about digital rights.
Thank you.
Cool. Now, we're about to move on from the MTech section of the interview, but I just wondered, Matt, if there was anything that we haven't touched on with the BlackBerry MTech deal that you'd like to share with us.
No, look, I think it's a long-term partnership, and I think that's key, and that probably didn't come out in the press release. It is a partnership. We have now opened up 3 new BBM offices in Canada. That's so we're close to BlackBerry, obviously. So we have a new office in Mississauga, in Ottawa, in Kitchener. We've also opened up new offices here in Singapore and also Indonesia. So we continually look at how we're scaling this business, and our focus hasn't changed. It's still a global business. We just basically have a new corporate in place that's driving that, and you know that gives us the full power and able to control our own destiny. You know, BlackBerry's got its own course of what it's trying to do in enterprise, and you know, we saw the success of what John spoke about in the earnings release, obviously, earlier this week. And BBM Consumer is obviously doing its own things.
Yep, cool. Now, the media love to jump on conclusions and print stories about BBM being hacked in cases where, you know, you've got those aftermarket altered devices being hacked, like with the Dutch police story, or even the pin message sagas we hear, like with the Canadian mobster story, or even some of the stuff we've heard here in our native Australia. Can you tell our viewers about the security of consumer-grade BBM?
Look, there's been no changes in the security in relation to BBM Consumer. And, you know, we pride ourselves on privacy and security, as we did when BlackBerry is doing the development as well. So obviously the world has become quite complicated in relation to phishing and you know, really security as a whole. And, you know, we're looking at all types of avenues to continue to improve the security and the privacy. Obviously over the last 12 months, you've seen us launch a lot of privacy and security services or applications for the consumer. You'll also notice in our recent release, we launched 2-factor authentication and mobile number registration. And that is additional security that we're bringing forward because we're looking at more and more financial services applications and other services where purchases are involved. And that's important, therefore, to have a 2-factor authentication like a SMS delivery for PIN. You've seen this with banking around the world, okay, with your internet banking and credit cards. We're following exactly the same path. So, you know, you can be very sure that it's at the forefront of obviously what we do. And we're also trying to educate the consumer as well about the scams that are happening out there, which are very similar to what's happened over the internet time as well.
Not to step on anyone's toes, or not to step on anyone's toes, sorry. But one of the questions that we got when it happened was when you guys started using the phone numbers to be able to sign up. Now, my understanding is that was a matter of ease of use for the customer. Can you tell us a little bit what's different about how you guys use our number versus how the other guys use our number?
Well, I'm not sure who the other guys are. Look, there's a combination of, obviously, ease of use is one. It also enables you to actually find friends, people you know, quicker, which we believe was, part of the legacy. People have gone on from PINs. The world has changed. So mobile number registration is common. In fact, any of the social networks that you use or messaging apps today use mobile number. Even the LinkedIns of this world, the Twitters, Google, and obviously all the messaging applications. So yes, one of it was to make it easy to register and obviously easy to find people. But you would have just seen in our recent release, we launched the 2FA functionality, and that is all about security. As I said, two-factor authentication, widely used for lots of services today, especially in the financial industry. And in my past, we actually provided a lot of that to the banks for SMS banking and mobile banking. So we're very familiar with that, and a lot of the team has come from that area. As I said, the reason we're doing that is because more and more services we're looking to authenticate. So if you go into our Discover area, which is really what we're trying to drive now with our services, we are doing what we call pre-authentication of the user. So it's seamless for the user to come in and use a third-party service. And part of that is the ability to use things like two-factor authentication. So, we're well ahead of the game there, and we're comfortable, that the strategy is clear and as secure as always. And as I said, we still pride ourselves on, obviously, security and privacy of what BlackBerry was known on in the past with BBM, and that will continue as BBM Consumer under the MTech banner.
Is there much difference between your consumer BBM and enterprise BBM as far as security?
Obviously, I can't speak for BBM Enterprise, but obviously, as you know, they actually have to run a server in the corporate for that as well. But it's not really about the actual security, it's about the content and services, meaning that we're providing additional security with PIN now, or mobile number, with the two-factor authentication, because we're bringing in external third-party services. You would have seen over the last year and a half, we have integrated into everything from PayPal to other wallets around the world. So, you wouldn't have financial institutions integrating services like top-up or bill payment or P2P transfer unless it was secure. And this is where things like two-factor authentication are important, because you want to authenticate out of just one device.
You're not going to monetize our phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm going to monetize you as a user, but I don't need to sell you. No. The phone number is there, as I said, to make you feel a bit more secure. So you're based in Australia, and as you know today, all the banks use two-factor authentication for their internet banking. Okay, and you either use a physical token or you use SMS. If you use it, so it's just a natural progression now onto the mobile, and you've already seen it. If you're on Google or Facebook or Twitter, or even LinkedIn has now introduced mobile number. And it makes it easier, obviously, if you lose your PIN and all these types of resetting functions, that we can actually get you on the phone, because people change their emails continuously, as you know.
So you're probably not going to call me, maybe.
Not at this stage. But if you can come up with a service that I can leverage, I'm happy to talk about it.
Abby, I think you're up.
Yeah, hi Matthew. This is Abhishek here from India. I have been in touch with you. Matthew, my question is on BBM channels. How do you see this format evolving on the mobile network? Because this is a very unique concept that no other IM application has. And what do you propose to do for the content, adding videos from the device, as well as the comments aspect?
Yeah, look, we're very excited about channels, especially for the SMEs, as well as corporates. We've started to channels was something that we Unfortunately, we didn't get to for a while in adding additional functionality, but we've recently actually added a lot of functionality behind channels, which we're soon going to be releasing and getting to like a small business type of opportunity. So where you can actually now programmatically post ads, where you can post videos, where eventually you'll be able to link to our API for our chatbot, which we're releasing in the end of January. We'll be launching payments behind it. So basically think of it as a suite of small business applications that they can leverage through channels. We think it's a very exciting part of the business, and we're seeing, you know, enormous engagement around it. As I said, we've still got a lot of work to do, especially in relation to curating and searching, but we believe we're on the right path, and it's definitely a key focus of our releases. And as you've probably seen over the last couple of months, you know, historically we were doing releases sort of once a quarter, and now we're getting more aggressive in our agile development and really starting to release things virtually every month, which is fantastic for the consumer and obviously fantastic for our customers across the board.
Thank you.
That sounds exciting. Matthew, first, thanks a lot again for coming on here. It's greatly appreciated. And I just want to say that I'm a huge BBM fanboy, so thanks. And my question relates to the usage of BBM video and BBM voice. So we're all using BBM messaging an awful lot, all day, every day. And I'm curious to know what the adoption rates are for video, which we've already covered isn't cross-platform, but I'm curious to know the adoption rates or you know, percentages or numbers of video and voice, either together or separate, and maybe that's a regional thing, I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So video is now cross-platform, so I can call you to my iOS, to Android, etc. So look, we're very excited about voice and video. We're seeing enormous interest. In fact, we just finished running some customer insight surveys in a handful of key markets, and voice and video came up as one of the biggest interest areas around BBM now. So we're seeing a lot of interest from the consumer, which is encouraging. Obviously, it's still very early on, especially with the cross-platform video. But you know, we're looking at ways that we can consistently improve the performance as well. As you know, it varies whether you're in 3G, 4G, LTE, Wi-Fi, etc. It's quite a complicated service. And we're looking at how we can open it up, obviously, to more users as well. I mean, the space is moving very quickly. We've seen some exciting things that Facebook have just launched in relation to multi-user chat, etc., and video. And, you know, we're excited about the potential around that.
I guess I'm assuming that you're using SIP as a protocol for...
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're, you know, as you've probably heard, one thing that we are doing for consumer is we're, over the next 12 months, we're moving our infrastructure. Okay, so for consumer BBM, and that's a major project, and we've recently selected Google Cloud to do that. So that transition will happen over the next 12 months, and that's also about us getting closer to more of our key markets to improve the performance of both message speed as well as voice, as well as video, as we bring on more and more services.
Right, so he's got a lot of work to do prioritizing voice and video over messaging, maybe?
Look, the exciting thing is that we've now moved from having development in one part of the world, obviously in Canada, in those 3 offices, to now extending it across the world. So we've opened up development now in Indonesia, here in Singapore as well. We continue to expand, obviously, in those 3 offices I talked about in Canada, as well as we're going to be opening up labs in India and also in Ukraine through a third party. So that's going to enable us to actually start to break up our development and scale a lot quicker, which is fantastic. So we have obviously dedicated teams working on elements like voice, like video, like channels, like group chat, Discover, etc. because this industry is moving incredibly quickly. And that's one of the benefits now of being under the MTech group. We are separate. Okay, we can focus on our core business, which is the consumer, and how we actually accelerate functionality. And that's why over the last 3 months, and if you go to bbm.com now and you go to the blog section or the PR, you can see the volume of services that we're pumping out now every week. We just launched over the last couple of weeks, obviously, our HTML games globally, or in 16 countries, I think it was. And every week now you're seeing new services launch for the consumer. And I think that's the big key, and that's sort of why we've sort of broken out of where we've been in the past. The future looks extremely bright for us.
Beautiful, thanks.
Now, Matthew, we've seen it reported that BBM may come to Tizen, but could we expect to see it head to other operating systems as well?
Look, we will, in the past we actually built a client for obviously the Amazon phone. Unfortunately, that wasn't as successful as we know. We also, as you know, supported Windows as well, and spent a lot of money developing for that. We'll always support key operating systems that have scale. I think that's the bottom line. Obviously, today, Android and iOS seem to be the leaders, and as you've seen, even other applications like WhatsApp and so forth have stopped supporting, certain operating systems as well. At the end of the day, we have to be in business for the masses. We can't support every operating system out there, but we have had a look at Tizen and so forth, and we'll continue to obviously evaluate them on a case-by-case basis, like all other providers.
Yeah. Google Chrome plugin. Cough.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit before we started here that you were opening the APIs to other parties. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because that's really exciting, and I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, in our last 2 releases over the last 3 months, we've opened up a number of APIs in relation to authentication of the user and sharing, some of the social sharing aspects into your feed, etc. Come January, we launch our chat API as well, which is for bots and also for third parties to use our messaging through, obviously, starting off through the channels area. So we've got a bunch of APIs that have already been launched, and we have a full roadmap going into each release. And that is to make sure that we can bring the right content partners and service providers inside BBM, though without taking them out of the BBM environment and making it seamless for the consumer. So when you log in, similar to, for example, take the PayPal example of what we did last year, similar to the fact that once you've logged in, you've logged into the other application. Now, the difference being is the world has moved away from separate apps. Okay, as I said, the average consumer uses sort of 5 apps on their phone. When they're on BBM, they want to be on BBM. They don't want to go out to another app and then try and find their way back. So all these content and services that we're launching are either in a native format inside BBM or as a web view. So there's a lot of authentication around that and APIs that we're opening up. So third parties, whether they're in video, whether they're in sport, vouchers, payments, games, etc., can link into BBM seamlessly the first time and then use all the APIs for the social sharing and the payment and all those type of aspects. From the consumer side, they still think they're in BBM. So the average user on BBM spends around 70 minutes a day on BBM. We want to take that to 80, to 90, to 120, etc., all within the BBM environment and make it seamless for the consumer.
You're obviously not timing the UTB crew.
I was about to say that.
I said average.
Yeah, I think we're the ones that push what it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. In Indonesia recently, Google released a stat that the average consumer is spending 140 minutes a day inside messaging. So that sort of gives us, I suppose, something to aim for.
Well,
Actually, you mentioned.
From our group.
Sorry, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to say, you can see from our group here, we've got Canada, I'm in the US, we've got a couple of Australians, we've got India, Israel, just here talking. And every one of us met each other through BBM, and everything that we do is all through BBM. And our group goes 24 hours a day. There's somebody awake somewhere in the world talking to somebody else. It's amazing what this product has done, really. We wouldn't be here without it, that's for sure.
It pretty much runs this company.
Yeah, we appreciate the support, guys. And as I said, I think for both BlackBerry and MTech, we've made the right choice in how we're now trying to grow BBM consumer. And we've had some fantastic feedback over the last 3 months from users as we've launched all these services. And similar to some of the conversations today, how quickly can we launch them in other parts of the world? So we're definitely on the right track. We're getting enormous support, and we appreciate it.
Matthew, you mentioned about the PayPal payments. That's still pretty much region specific, is it? Is that something we're going to see worldwide?
Yeah, I think it's now launched in 8 countries, 8 or 9 countries. Look, it's definitely something that we're continuing to work on with PayPal on. As you know, though, also regulatory-wise, once again, payments is a difficult issue. You'd love to have global wallets across all countries, but most of the wallet opportunities that we're working on right now are also very regionally based, and that's because that's where they have the biggest uptake. And it's not just about P2P, it's also about merchant payments. So we're going to have some exciting announcements about that over the next 2 quarters. And as I said, getting back to what we talked about with channels and that, how can we empower local businesses to work more effectively? That's a big aim because we think there's a huge marketplace there. And I think you're seeing that as well through some of the other social messaging apps as well, of what they're trying to do as well. And I think that's exciting because the world has moved digital. A lot of our markets are mobile first markets, which means, people are getting their first opportunity around commerce on their mobile phone. So we're looking to empower that and enable that as much as possible.
What can we do as the fan community to help push this along? Because I understand what you've got going on there, and you have amazing services going on there. Here, like honestly, where I live, there's really not a lot of messengers being used. I mean, everybody talks about WhatsApp, but I don't even know anybody that uses it here where I live.
Yeah.
And getting them off of SMS texting onto BBM is like opening their eyes to the world, but it's getting them on there that is the struggle.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, North America is a very fragmented market, which makes it extremely hard, though, also to break into in scale. We're hoping, as we launch more and more of these content and services, especially global, like the games, like some of these booking services, etc., that we will then look to see how we can actually market them, specifically in those markets. As you know, historically, BBM has never done any advertising. It's all been organic growth, which has been amazing when you look at it that way. We are definitely starting to do some marketing, starting in some of our key markets, like Indonesia, like South Africa, Nigeria, parts of the Middle East. We're really starting to accelerate what we do as we launch more and more services. But until we've launched sort of a base of new services in other countries, it's very hard to sort of push people back into it because you want them to see something new, to be honest. A lot of our theme now is about discover. Come back and discover BBM. And you'll see these services are coming under that tab, Discover. We will have a new UI coming across both iOS and Android in the first half of next year as well. And you'll see the first part of that at the end of the January release. So there's some exciting things happening, and we're very keen to get out there and start pushing it, but we want to make sure the user experience is valid. And what I mean by that is there's value there for the consumer, more than what they've just seen in the past. As I said, we've seen the results of that in markets like Indonesia now, and we're looking forward to bringing it into, obviously, our other key markets and build our presence back up again in North America. And obviously, being an Australian, I'm pushing people down there every day.
So are we, mate. So are we.
God's country.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, has anybody been watching our channel comments to see if there's, I mean, obviously no extraneous questions, but I just wondered if people had any comments on there. I have not been watching.
Now, look, we do have amazing followers throughout the world. I was actually on BBM this morning. Well, actually, the gentleman reached out to me first on Facebook Messenger. And I told him, well, I said, if you want to speak to me, you better send me a BBM. So I gave him my PIN. And this is a guy who's created a channel in Greece and is trying to actively promote it and wants to get engaged and so forth. And you know, I get a lot of tweets and feedbacks from people all over the world, you know, trying to help us grow BBM. So there's some very loyal supporters out there, definitely.
He was on our channel today. I saw that.
Okay.
Now, nothing sitting on the channels at the moment, question-wise.
Alrighty. Well, hey, we went through everything really fast. Was there anything that you wanted to touch on, Matthew? I feel kind of bad because.
No, I think. Look, I mean, I just released a blog about this as well. I think what we're excited about next year is the ability of our chat API and bots. I think we're seeing more and more industries obviously move to release bots, and obviously they're looking to tie up with messaging applications like BBM, and we're extremely excited about our roadmap on that. We know how expensive it is for companies to drive people to separate applications and then get them to go back and back. We obviously don't have that problem. You know, 75% of our monthly active users are daily active users, and as I said, the average is spending over 70 minutes a day. So you take that and you can see the potential of obviously integrating more content and services, and through bots and through us continuing to open up our APIs, it's extremely exciting about what we can do. So that's what we're excited about going into next year. I think, you know, with the new APIs, I think with our new UI, which you'll start to see come out, you know, it's going to be another exciting year for BBM, and we appreciate the support across the board. And you know, we definitely listen to our consumers, and as I said, we've just run some customer insights across the world. And you know, if you guys have got any suggestions, please send them through.
Is there a way that a user can do that without, you know, hunting you down and finding you on Facebook?
They can actually, they can hunt me down on BBM as well. I'm not hard to find, especially when we've got custom pins. When my name's Matthew Talbot, I think if they go to either of those, they can probably find me pretty quickly. I have a bit of priority on pins, obviously, on custom pins. But, you know, you can actually report just from the app. You can actually contact us directly from the app and obviously report any issues and obviously also report any suggestions. And that's the easiest thing. Or otherwise go to bbm.com. And as you've probably seen there, we're changing that quite rapidly as well. So, no, look, it's the consumer and the customer experience is everything to BBM. And unfortunately, you know, over the last couple of years, I don't think we've done our best job at listening to the consumer. We're now obviously, I hope, getting a lot better at that. And the feedback certainly supports that. And, you know, we're looking forward to our January release of the software, and then continuing there each month with new releases.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see games on my handset a couple of weeks ago here in Canada, and sort of went away and came back in a couple hours, but it's stuck in there now, so that's pretty cool. And I'm looking forward, I hope, to maybe hopefully you're talking to some content providers in North America.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Looking forward to more stuff rolling out.
I've been over there actually twice over the last 4 weeks. Thank you, with my ski jacket. But meeting a number of content providers and service providers as well. So now you will see things very shortly there. And as I said, there's more and more of those global services like games coming out, and it's critical that we accelerate those as much as possible and give you guys another reason to stay longer in BBM.
That was actually a concern of mine when I saw the video embedding mentioned in one of the past releases, and the video service that you're using. I believe that's either a partner with MTech or owned by MTech. Is there any kind of...
Yeah, it's owned by MTech. A lot of those initial services are entities that are owned by MTech, which has meant that we can accelerate them quickly. We are in discussions now with a number of global players. As I said, video is a tough one because it can be regionally. But you can be sure that things are coming.
Awesome.
And
I like that wry smile there.
we are not ignoring Canada at all. In fact, when I've got still 3/4 of my employees in Canada, I get sort of bugged on it every day.
Thanks, eh?
So it's coming.
Well, I think it's part of the UTB UTB network to push things forward. So I'm extremely happy to be, you were talking about the average part. I think we beat the average hands down. We all practically live in BBM. We just can't imagine anything without it.
That's good. I appreciate the support, guys, and keep pushing us. Keep pushing us.
No worries there.
And so much, Matt. Can I just say that is an absolutely killer Mo. You must have done really well in Movember. And from one Australian to another, I think you've done Merv Hughes very proud.
But this is only the last 2 days.
Oh, well done.
I was going to have a shave this morning, and then I thought, no, it's Christmas.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's like hockey playoff beards and stuff.
There he goes, talking about that made-up sport again. But thanks so much, Matthew. They're always welcome. Like, really, honestly, that when that update comes out and when the bot comes that I'm going to name Barry, I hope you come back and talk to us about it.
Yep. No, we're happy to, guys. Happy to speak to you as much as you can put up with us. And as I said, you're going to be seeing releases every month. So just let us know, and we're happy to get involved.
So we'll see you tomorrow night then.
You may have to, well, look, Google Hangouts does work on mobile. So if you want to call me in the pub, that's fine.
Yeah. We'll call you maybe.
Or you can call me on BBM voice or video.
That's right. That's the only way.
Okay, guys. Appreciate the
Thank
time.
you, Matthew.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thanks for your
much.
time, Matthew.
Have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Many
Thank you
thanks.
too, mate.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Best
New Year.
wishes.
Merry Christmas.
All right, folks. That was great. Here's what we have to take from this, right? There's certain concerns that some users have had. I think this pretty much nails it shut. BBM still secure. Channels is not dead and is in fact getting better.
We're gonna to have a lot of new features around the globe, not only regional segment. So
Exactly. Great talk. I like him. I want him back.
Exciting times for BBM.
He's an Aussie.
All right.
What's not to like?
Amen for that. 3 Aussies in the one blogcast. That could be a record.
That is a record for sure.
Mate,
All right, good night, folks.
we even outnumbered the Yankees.
Good night, folks.
I
Thanks for
think
joining.
Greg said good night.
We'll
Good
see you
night.
next time.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
No, guys.
All
Have a
right.
good Christmas, guys.
See you,
All the
everybody.
best.
Merry Christmas.
Take care.